same reason that criminals can't find policemen. They're not looking for them. And so he said, if you're not looking for God, you're not going to find him. Just like criminals are not looking for those policemen. And so what's happening is no one's looking. And he says, if you're wise, you're going to seek God. He says, all have turned away. All alike have become corrupt. There is no one who does good, not even one. Does that verse sound familiar? Romans chapter 3. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And so he's talking about all of them. That basically, you're infected with the same virus, the sin nature. And basically, you say, well, I'm not so bad, I'm okay, but we are guilty by association. Because all men have the sin nature. And so even though we don't do those things, we're guilty by association for the ones who do all these things. Because we have that same virus within us. Basically, theory and practice together, you get ungodly living results. You have ungodly going off astray. You're going off of the way. And so you are corrupt. You've gone aside. Basically, in Jeremiah, he says, you've turned your back on God. And that's what these people have done. It's interesting to see the comparisons of people. Oh, well, you ever had this before? Oh, you're a goody two-shoes. Y'all ever heard that expression? Or, oh, you're one of those. You don't do those things. I always thought it was interesting. You know, you see a lot in the news today about the LGBTQ. The lesbians, lesbians, gays, bisexuals, queers, and plus. They have a long list of classes for that. But I always thought it was interesting that the determination is, well, you're straight, and I'm this way. And I thought, wait a minute. I'm straight, and you're this way. So I'm thinking, why do you call me straight? Why am I considered that way? And I thought, does that mean you're crooked? If I'm straight, you're crooked? I didn't say that out loud, but I'm thinking that's an interesting way. Straight, what does that mean? Is that, well, you're this way, but I'm this way. I said, okay, so here we go. Is that all infected with this virus? So basically what is happening here in verse 3, no one does good, not even one. Basically, these people are refusing to follow through with the purpose that God has given them. And that is to honor and glorify God with their lives. Basically, human depravity. We are depraved in that our fallen nature, we cannot change apart from God working in our lives. It's just that way. That's the way the sin nature is. We cannot change enough by ourselves to do that. And basically, with these people, it's willful ignorance. But it's not a lack of intelligence. Now remember, it's willful negligence, but it's not a lack of intelligence. You have a lot of very smart, intelligent people that claim, no, there's no God, I'm looking somewhere else. So it's willful negligence. I don't want to look that way. And so, as David's painting this portrait, they say, no God, this is their lifestyle, this is what's going on. They don't care about God, they're neglecting Him. Basically, he says in verse 4, will evildoers never understand? Will they not even look in the right direction? Will they never understand? He said, they consume my people as they consume bread. They do not call on the Lord. What he's saying is these people who aren't following God, who are saying there's no God, so I don't have any accountability, they consume my people as they consume bread. The word there is bread eaters. Basically, they go after the poor and the lowly people, and they go after them because they know that they can get something from them. So they're called the bread eaters. That's what it means. And so they're going against these people. They're taking advantage of them, the weak and the poor. basically they treat these people like consumer goods. You're nothing. You know, I'm going to get what I can get out of you, and that's it. You're nothing. And of course, with people who don't believe in God, they don't pray to God, P-R-A-Y, but David is saying here that they do, P-R-E-Y, they do pray on the down and out people to make maybe their fortune, maybe to take advantage of them. So it's like they're eating their bread. They do not call on the name of the Lord. And so their insight, the discerning one seeks after God. These people are not looking. If God is not in their thoughts, they cannot be good men. They can't do those things that are right if God is not there. And so then, like in verse 5, now in 4, they said, no God. Therefore, their actions are going to follow. Their thoughts are going to follow. I don't care about God. I'm all important. I'm going to look elsewhere. And this is what these people do. They take advantage of the down and out people. And they say they're just worthless. They're just like a consumer good. But what happens when judgment comes, and it will? I don't know if any of y'all have ever watched the movie, the remake of The Mummy. How many of y'all watched that movie? Come on, yeah, I've seen it. And one line in there, remember the guy that's always stirring up the trouble? He's the friend of Ricochet, and he's stirring up all this stuff, and they come across this big treasure, and he's always going against them, the good guys. And what's the girl's name? Rachel Weisz. She's the librarian. And she tells him, after all this is going on, she said, you know that the people who do these things, the bad things, they always get their comeuppance. Always. And the guy looks at her and goes, always? She says, always. They get their comeuppance. And so, that's what David is talking about in the comeuppance. And I will not spoil it for you, but he gets his comeuppance. You're just going to have to see it. See what happens. But anyway, David is saying here, they're doing all these things. They don't care about God. They've left Him out of their lives. Here's what happens. Then they will be filled with terror, for God is with those who are righteous. Now, life is good, and I can take advantage of all these people until, and it will come, judgment. Judgment will come. And then David says they are terrified. Y'all seen those shows on TV with bad guys that got the run of the place? And then he gets to a point where, oh man, he's going to die. What does he do? For the most part, it's like, oh, help me. Oh, I can't stand this. But he's been doing all these bad things, but he gets to the point where this is it. And he's terrified. He wants to get out of it some way, but he doesn't. And so they are terrified because judgment does come. Because, I like what David says, God is with those who are righteous. Yeah, it might look tough for us right now. We're trying to follow God. We're trying to do the things that are right. And it looks, hey, wait, what's going on? But judgment comes. And they are terrified when God does take His judgment. Remember in Daniel chapter 5, where Belshazzar, they were at the big party, they were celebrating, and then all of a sudden they look up, and there's a hand, and it's writing on the wall. And Belshazzar, it describes it. This guy, the Bible said he's terrified. He's probably having a panic attack. He's breathing in and out real fast. And the Bible says his knees are knocking together. Any of y'all been in a situation where your knees knock together? No? Y'all real brave, right? Well, I can. First time I got up to speak in my home church, man, my knees were... I thought, man, you've got to be able to hear these things. This is ridiculous. Literally, the knees were knocking back and forth. And so I said, calm down, calm down. But Belshazzar, knees were knocking because he encountered God. He didn't care about God until that point in time. It was God putting the handwriting on the wall. The rich farmer, Jesus talks about in a parable. He says, this guy had his crops were so much, he said, hey, I got to tear down my barns, got to build bigger barns because I got so much. And God, Jesus in the parable says, and God comes to him and says, and you know what the word he uses? You fool. this night your soul is required of you. You've got all these things, but you've neglected your soul. And now your soul is required. The judgment came. In Revelation chapter 6, you read that. It says at a point in time, it says the sun will be darkened in the sky. The moon is going to turn blood red. There's going to be earthquakes. All these things happening. And it says these people who are on the earth, they're running, trying to hide in caves. And they say, let these rocks fall on us and kill us. We don't want to go through this judgment anymore. They're terrified. Even though probably the day before, they were just having a good time and they didn't care about God. But when that judgment comes, those people are terrified. Basically, it's talking about when they're terrified, and I think it's in Psalm 53:5, talking about a military victory where all the enemy has been killed. They are left unburied and humiliated. That's what God's judgment is like. All the enemy's dead. They're unburied. They're humiliated. When God's judgment comes. It's like God who walks into a courtroom. Now, every judge is honest and upstanding and correct, are they? Oh, yeah. You know, we have some that aren't quite that way. But it's like God walking into the courtroom, and He's going to confront every judge who's corrupt. He's going to say, all right, guys, that's it. That's it. That's where the judgment comes from. But then He says, you sinners frustrate the plans of the afflicted, but the Lord is His refuge. Part in verse 5, God is with those who are righteous, and the Lord is His refuge, His place to run, to hide, to get deliverance. But then He says in verse 7, oh, that Israel's deliverance would come from Zion, when the Lord restores the fortunes of His people. Jacob will rejoice, and Israel will be glad. Basically, he sums it up. He says, the joyless, those who have God, have no future, but those who have God have that joyful future. The wicked, they prefer not to know God, so they focused on their own desires, their own wants. They did not want to please God, so they rejected Him. But unfortunately, rejection goes both ways. If people reject and refuse God, God will reject and refuse them. He still wants them to come to Him. He still leaves the opportunity open. But if they reject God and they don't care about Him, God's going to say, all right, I've given you every chance. All right, that's it. That's it. I've turned my back. So, have you decided today that you don't want to be a fool? Just say yes. Okay, yes. If you see what happened. These people have turned their backs. It's reading. Any of y'all ever heard of Stephen Hawking? All right. He is a physicist. And actually, the situation that he had, he was in a wheelchair. I don't remember the name of it. But he was probably not supposed to live past the age of 25. But he did. He lived for, I think, another 49 years. And he said, for 49 years, I faced death every day. But Stephen Hawking, he was basically probably an atheist from an early age. Now, his family was nominally Christian, but for all intents and purposes, they were intellectual atheists. They didn't believe in God. And when he went to school, he would argue with his classmates about Christianity. And he went to Oxford and to Cambridge. And he was a well-known atheist there. His first wife, whose name was Jane, he married her in 1965. She was a believer. And they were married for 25 years. They got a divorce in 1990. They just basically didn't, he claimed atheist. She was a firm believer. And I was amazed, the longevity of their marriage, 25 years. That's no short time. And then finally it just came to a point where they parted ways. But this is two quotes from Stephen Hawking. Now, he passed away last year. And he did very very intelligent person. Very. And he said, one quote, he said, "Before we understand science, it is natural to believe that God created the universe. But now science offers a more convincing explanation. What I meant by, quote, we would know the mind of God, unquote, is we would know everything that God would know if there were a God, which there is not. I am an atheist." So basically what he was saying is, it's not God, it's science. And that's where he's at. And one last quote. He said, "I regard the brain as a computer which will stop working when its components fail. There is no heaven or afterlife for broken down computers. That is a fairy story for people afraid of the dark." That's just a couple of quotes from him. He's written books, and like I said, he passed away last year. And one thing about people who say there is no God, that they live their lives as such, one thing about it, we are mortal, are we not? We are mortal. One day our lives will end here. Now, there's people that say, okay, that's it. And that's what he basically believed, that was it. After this, nothing. And, but, what you believe, you have to put it against reality. And God has given everything. Paul addressed that in Romans. He addressed it in Corinthians, talking to the philosophers, talking to those people. In 1 Corinthians, he talks about that. Where are you, you philosophers and you thinkers? Look at all this that God has done. Think about it. Look at the evidence. And Paul keeps addressing that. But where are you today? Are you saying there's no God? I would hope we could say there is a God if you were here today. We're here to worship as a family. But at times, are we practical atheists? Do we live our lives in such a way that sometimes, they say they're a Christian, but, because other people are watching, believe me, they are watching you. And so, do they say, Now you have to remember, you talk to them, hey, I'm not perfect, working through some things, but yes, I am a Christian, and okay, I'm not always this way. It's just there's times, pressures, different things, but I'm trying, and God knows that, and I'm asking forgiveness. But are we more so practical atheists? I claim to be a Christian, but you live your life in such a way as people question. So, David said, the fool said in his heart, there's no God. But he said, those who are righteous, who follow the Lord, right there in verse 5, it says, God is with those who are righteous. And in verse 6, the Lord is his refuge. So is God your refuge today? If you are righteous, basically, you know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. You've accepted Him, confessed your sins, and you believe that Jesus died for you on the cross. He was buried, and He was raised again. He's alive today. That's what the righteous, it's not our righteousness. Jeremiah tells us that, Isaiah tells us our righteousness is like a filthy rag. What do y'all do with filthy rags? Y'all wash your rags? Some of you go, okay, that's gone. That one's beyond cleaning. Let's just toss that one. I have a few of those. I don't know, I just hold on to them for sentimental reasons. But anyway, that's where our righteousness comes from. Do you have that righteousness? The righteousness of Jesus Christ. By grace through faith. Let's bow our heads, please. Examine your lives today. Where are you? How are you living? You follow Jesus Christ? Does your life, your actions, your words line up with that? And again, we're not perfect, but we're striving to be that way. Okay? We're striving to be that way. There are times, man, I blew that one. Lord, would you please forgive me? That's the difference between a person who's a Christian and one who says there is no God. I don't care. There's no God. No big deal. I'm going to live. I'm going to take advantage of who I can take advantage of. Get out of life what I can get out of life. I don't care. Who I have to run over or take advantage of to get there. Don't be that way. Don't be that way. Where are you at today? Ask God right now. If you don't know Him as Lord and Savior, then you can accept Him as your Lord and Savior right now. But where are you in your Christian life if you are a Christian? Ask God to help you to be that example each day. Yeah, you might mess up a little bit here and there, but ask Him to help you to keep on going. Like our musicians to play, you just sit where you're at right now. You just talk with God, honestly. I'm here if you'd like to come and talk to me, but you just talk to God right there. Y'all like this. Appreciate y'all being here today. We will be meeting at Cracker Barrel tomorrow morning at 8:30. If you want to come eat breakfast, and I'll buy you breakfast. Nah, not really. Anyway, if you need to, I will. Okay. But anyway, we'll be meeting there, and just pray for each other. Now we're going into another time. Watch out. Schools are going to be getting out. Kids are ready to get out and do different things. So okay. So let's stand.